Cd15 Life Coaching with Sferon. The Sacred Council, 15 out of 32. The Guiding Force of Sferon. Sferon, the guiding force of universal mind, virtues and higher communication. Live with the highest principles. I am Sferon, keeper of the seventh dimension, the universal mind, which is like the hard drive of creation, and which holds all memory of what is possible in creation. The access to this universal mind is mostly blocked by the reality you are experiencing most of the time, your limited and conditioned mind, trained through association. Quote, "The possibility of stepping into a higher plane is quite real for everyone. It requires no force or effort or sacrifice. It involves little more than changing our ideas about what is normal." Deepak Chopra, end of quote. The information and experiences in the universal mind, which you haven't tuned into, is information you haven't associated with. My shopping center is 100 times bigger as the malls of Star Maze, in which you can shop only for familiar things. My shopping centers hold all information of all things possible in creation, the past, moment, and future. Quote, "What has been is what will be, and what has been done is what will be done. There is nothing new under the sun." Ecclesiastes 1:9. It has all information to live more in harmony in creation, holds the memory of the highest virtues, and to live by the highest principles. It is here where most great inventors, artists, philosophers, and scientists receive their information and awareness from. Quote, "Poets, painters, and musicians receive inspiration from this point. All great thinkers get their ideas clarified here. Whatever scientific process the world has made, it has all been derived from this source. This focus, back of the eyes, is the fountain of all inspiration, which has produced the world's masterpieces." Maharaj Sawan Singh, end of quote. This is a world not conditioned by you, as you have not made any associations, but it's a world full of endless experiences, whoever still belong to the adventure of creation. Most of the time, all your energy goes down and out into the desiring of familiar things, and there are techniques you can acquire for the process to access the universal shopping center. Quote, "Freedom is not procured by a full enjoyment of what is desired, but by controlling the desire." Epictetus, end of quote. Located at the crown center, of which I am in charge of, you can find an invisible door leading back to your original home, and through my life contribution you are able to non-verbally communicate with your real self, your soul, and creator, and can live life with the higher virtues and the highest principles. Quote, "Analyze thy life's experiences, see thy shortcomings, see thy virtues. Minimize those faults, magnify and glorify thy virtues." Edgar Cayce, end of quote. I am your closest connection to the eternal force of life, representing itself through the inner audible light and sound, which created and sustains everything in creation, otherwise it could not exist. At the crown center, it enters your body and keeping every cell alive. Quote, "The Lord is upon my head like a crown of flowers, and I shall never be without him. A crown of truth has been plaited for me, and it has caused thy shoots to grow within me. For it is not like a withered crown which blossoms not, but thou art alive upon my head, and thou hast blossomed upon me. Thy fruits are full and perfect, they are full of thy salvation." Odes of Solomon. End of quote. I'm also often referred to as the dragon and protector of this gate or door, leading to your spiritual abode. It is my duty to do anything to keep you in creation, but when the Creator decides for a soul to get back in touch again with its spiritual inheritance, I will slowly lose control over that soul. This soul will receive a guiding teacher with corresponding teachings and the key, ticket, or password to open this door. That soul will have to learn to knock at this door and prepare itself for the home journey. This will all happen at the right time, because in the realm of the Creator, time doesn't exist. In the life of the soul, which then has a rebirth, he or she will slowly lose the attachments to the things of creation and gets in touch through inner and silent prayer and meditation with the life force and becomes attached to the Creator again. Quote, "In a place where mind and matter are active, there can never be peace. Sorrows and wars of nations, or communities, or individuals shall continue. The soul must seek other planes to find peace. To find peace is the business of the individual. Everybody has to seek it within himself." Maharaj Sawan Singh. End of quote. I am, however, just like you and anything else in creation, a creation of opposites. Tuning into my positive side is non-verbally communicating with your higher self, and non-verbally communicating with yourself, others, and the world with the highest virtues. When you do not tune in to this side of me, you can also experience miscommunication with your higher self, and even non-verbally argue with the Creator and fall for negative passions. Quote, "For the mind to flower, it has to go beyond what it knows." Mother Mira. End of quote. With the capacity of higher virtues, I keep everything and everybody busy with doing great things for others and the world, but you forgetting that all what you do is still part of the mind, binding everything and everybody to the creation. Quote, "A will is free only so long as it has not acted. Once it acts, then that very act becomes binding on it. The second time it acts, it does not act as free will, but as a calculating will, for it carries the experience of the first act with it. And a calculating will is not a free will, but a limited will." Maharaj Sawan Singh. End of quote. So you may ask me, why do you do something like this? And I will tell you that this is part of my job. And as I said before, I am part of the created world, and there are two sides of me, like within you. Living with the highest principles and virtues is as well a test. For when you have expectations with doing great deeds and actually trying to control others, you fall just for your ego and imprison yourself again. It is leading a moral and ethical life, which is not easy, as the conditioned mind can justify anything and you falling for this lower tendency. Quote, morality in our present days is a delicate subject. Possibly at no other time in history has there been so much uncertainty worldwide as to what the concept of morality means. Why, many people may ask, should one struggle to live honestly? In this scientific age, with the erosion of religious and social values, many people are left wondering whether an acceptable basis for a moral code even exists. Faced with so much contradiction and uncertainty, they prefer to live their lives just as it pleases them, or for immediate, short-term goals. M.F. Singh. End of quote. Great leaders, honest politicians, peace fighters, philosophers, famous writers, religious leaders, and people of great knowledge have fallen working with the shadows of higher virtues, and fallen into being crowned by others or crowning themselves for what they do or stand for, which is again connected to ego and expectations. Even using the name of God has been used for the wrong reasons and even justified killing. All this has nothing to do with Kandu the Creator, but is plain ego. They are basically still followers of the mind. Only real saints have those real qualities, having no judgments, no expectation, compassion, and assist wherever they can. Danger of using higher virtues for the good of the world thus is still busy in the world and not using the energy to stay in and to go up. Quote, so long as the mind is filled with me and mine, my wife, my sons, my daughters, my property, my honor, my wealth, my country, my nation, my wisdom, and so forth, it cannot pass through the narrow way. Maharaj Sawan Singh. End of quote. Only from that point of reference outside the pyramid, one can all oversee, assist, have compassion, empathy, but not getting involved. You go to viziers and astrologers who possibly give you a different angle to look at things, but what can they see? They too are still in the pyramid and can only see from a limited angle. Inside the universal mind, there is this invisible door leading one to the chamber of silence, also called the waiting room. Here you wait until you are called. This is a waiting dimension before you can enter the spiritual dimensions. Quote, inner silence works from the moment you begin to acquire it. What the old sorcerers were after was the final dramatic, the end result of reaching that individual threshold of silence. Carlos Castaneda. End of quote. Visualize life in creation as being inside a pyramid in which you can live from a negative, positive, or neutral perspective. And you may call this your point of reference, but you are still inside the body, inside the mind, inside the pyramid. To really see and assist yourself inside the life of the pyramid, your point of reference needs to be somewhere outside the pyramid, which is that place you can find going through the door or the single eye. Being inside the waiting room, which is still part of the pyramid, you will first have to learn to be still and concentrate. Quote, the first essential thing is concentration, bringing the scattered and scattering attention into the eye-focused. Maharaj Sawan Singh. End of quote. Above this realm of mind is the only real realm, as it is not limited to anything and knows everything from before the mind was created. Plus, it knows everything from the universal and limited and conditioned mind. This is the world beyond the shopping centers, which you can only enter with a guide who has mastered the mind. Maybe you have already a master who did so and following the path to go beyond. When not being in touch with a master, but when it is something you are seeking, he will come your way. Quote, "We have to be receptive to receive his grace. There is no dearth of his grace within, but we are not receptive to it. Our mind is scattered into the whole creation, so we have to withdraw our mind back to the eye center, put the cup in the right position before it can be filled." Hazur Marwaj Charan Singh Ji. End of quote. One thing I forgot to mention, I am as well the accountant of all your personal data, which you recorded through the sense organs functioning as its keyboard, in addition to the things you think about within this mind. It is me who assists you, directing you to one of the castles of garments, to take one garment to live out the sum of all your desires or unfulfilled desires. You are all faster than the models in a fashion show, changing clothes. You want constantly new, and you can get it. One thing more I forgot to tell you, that you actually have a minimum of 2 sets of garments in one, and that's the additional magic. Even when you lay off the physical garment, realize that your shadow garment is still there. But in general, you are having endless shadow garments associated to all the endless roles and characters, desires, and attachments. So imagine how many shadow garments you are all wearing and wondering why it is wearing you out. What a load. Quote, "For those who wish to climb the mountain of spiritual awareness, the path is selfless work. For those who have attained the summit of union with the Lord, the path is stillness and peace." Bhagavad Gita. End of quote. Be sure to get rid of all your garments and attaching yourself to Kandu, the Creator. Follow the instructions of your master, your teacher, as a true disciple, and become the master yourself. Get rid of the desires for this world and desire to be just with Kandu only. Quote, "Life is a pilgrimage. The wise man does not rest by the roadside inns. He marches direct to the illimate domain of eternal bliss, his ultimate destination." Swami Sivananda. To sum it all, end of quote. To sum it all up, I guide you regarding matters of inner communication with Kandu or miscommunication with Kandu, accepting Kandu's creation or judging Kandu's creation, being in silence or not spending time alone in silence, being in the void or being afraid of the void, accepting your book of life or complaining about life and being in judgment, having empathy or making yourself and others into victims, using higher power for soul realization or using higher power trying to save the world, keeping Kandu as your crown head or crowning yourself and others, worshipping Kandu, worshipping the things and the people of the world, being humble or showing ego and pride, surrendering to his will or fighting with your will for the things in the world, becoming an observer or getting caught in the involvement of worldly matters and ego, using your intuition or staying analytical and calculative, living with higher virtues to please Kandu or using higher virtues to impress others, point of reference above the mind or point of reference the mind and the world, using the universal mind for the common good or using the universal mind for your ego, freeing yourself from the mind or talking about free will and freedom in the world. Sferon, knowing me and knowing what to do with me. Let's see how you unnecessarily struggle with my force in various aspects of your life, how you could change your perspective and even make some practical changes. There are endless words that can be connected to any subject, and each subject can have many books because each subject can be approached from various perspectives and angles. Most important is not to forget that all that is said or written is merely an opinion, a truth and not the truth, because the spoken and written word is part of the creative world, created in opposites, constantly changing and bound to time, and there is always more than can be said or written about any subject. Regarding me and the Sacred Council members talking about any subject, know that this understanding applies to that information as well. The information is from our particular point of view and brought to you through the world of visionary and mystical fiction. Hopefully, it contributes to your life and assists you to experience life in a more conscious, mystical, and magical way. By hearing or reading this information, you will come to the conclusion that you know this already, and you do, because this is part of your universal and spiritual inheritance. And often, we just need one word or sentence that inspires and motivates us to do things differently, or to think about a certain subject from a different perspective. Dealing with your real self, the soul. In regards to spiritual living, connect with the higher virtues: acceptance, humbleness, forgiveness, gentleness, moderation, and selflessness, which you need to practice and which is only possible when you are in full conscious contact with the Spirit. Do not crown yourself or others for any spiritual achievements, for they are given to you. Spirit connects to you and not the other way around. As the gift of spirituality starts to take over, you can finally observe the movie of life without getting involved. So continue to be more in silence and keep knocking at that one door by doing your spiritual practice, preparing yourself to travel on the inward path to spiritual reunion. Through silent prayer and meditation, you first gather your scattered energy, get concentrated, clear and focused about your priorities and how to go about worldly matters. Secondly, by losing all connections to all your familiar associations, you then enter the universal mind, which will give you access to do great things in the world, things that really stand out. Inside the highest realm of the universal mind, you can find all the imprints of the highest virtues, and you can live with them in the world. The real silent prayer and meditation, however, is to go within and to sit in the dark waiting room and waiting for a door from the other side to be opened in order for the light to come in. This is the invisible door located at the crown. Here is where your spiritual journey starts. Here you can find the inner everlasting audible light and life stream entering your being and feeding all cells of your body. Quote, "The light of the body is the eye. If therefore thy eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light." Bible. End of quote. Knowing all these dimensions, treasure chambers, the question arises, are you using your energy for the right priority, worldly or spiritually? The ego knows the path in regards to achieving things in creation, and the soul knows the path to realize itself and to return home. Quote, "You cannot travel the path until you have become the path itself." Buddha. End of quote. Dealing with your mind. In regards to managing and dealing with the mind, know that at this level of consciousness within the mind, that you are tapping into the universal mind. This is the place where all the great inventors, philosophers tapped into and found their treasures. It is the zone which athletes and great performers with their talent got connected to. It was at that moment when they got out of the way. At this space within your mind, you find all the undiscovered realities within your mind and who give you the opportunity to live more in harmony with yourself, others, and the world. Here is the storage chamber of all that was, is, and will be in the existence of creation. In addition, you can connect here with higher virtues: acceptance, humbleness, forgiveness, gentleness, moderation, and selflessness, and through which you can become a better global citizen without interfering with the spectacle called life. Unfortunately, when tapping into this realm, you do not use it to go further to find your spiritual abode, but become well-known individuals in your world who either crown themselves or are being crowned by others for their achievements. All this is just mind and mental stuff, which you call me and my world, and in which you try to organize security and comfort, forgetting that it is nothing more than a jail for the soul. You identify with the world of mind and matter, or discover your true identity and the world everlasting. There are two types of mind, the mathematical and what might be called the intuitive. The former arrives at its view slowly, but they are firm and rigid. The latter is endowed with greater flexibility and applies itself simultaneously to the dive. Blaise Pascal. The greater our attachment to the divine melody, the more we become detached from which what holds us back and keeps us bound here. Hazur Maharaj Charan Singh. End of quotes. Dealing with your body. In regards to dealing with your physical body, know that it is a composition of all material substances. But the ether substance reveals itself predominantly as communication. That at this location is the communication that takes a non-audible place within your higher self. Quote, in a disordered mind, as in a disordered body, soundness of health is impossible. Cicero. It is through this connection that you feel really bad when you think and do incorrect things. Here you know what is right and wrong, but it is as well through this capacity that you think great of yourself by doing good things according to your own conditionings, or according to what others thinks about what you do or did. For this reason, be careful to not crown yourself and others. As long as your body is under the me, my, and mine connected to the mind and under the dictates of your sense organs, and has expectations, you are still the Caesar of your own will and not living in the will of the Supreme. When you keep in mind why you have this body, being the vehicle to start your journey inward and homeward, you would keep it healthy and you would stay clear in your mind. You would stay healthy and making progress. When the body, through the dictates of your mind, is used for other purposes, it will stay standing in your way. Dealing with communication. In regards to communication, connect with the higher virtues: acceptance, humbleness, forgiveness, gentleness, moderation, and selflessness. Do not crown yourself or others for their such-called gift or speech. Listen, observe, and do not get involved. Be more in silence and speak more with your Creator. Quote, he who knows does not speak. He who speaks does not know. Lao Tzu. End of quote. When your mind is driven by the sense organs, it will put itself as the ego on the throne, and even argues with the Creator, complains, and is not satisfied how things are run by him. Realize that all you think and come up with belongs to the mind and the world of creation. Quote, thoughts come through people, not from them. Antonio D'Angelo. End of quote. Dealing with food. In regards to dealing with nutrition, did you know that you are worshipping foods when you desire tastes and basically are addicted to them? Just see around the world how much attention is given to foods and how much time you're busy with the subject food, from buying to preparing to finally sitting on the table. You also make others who have the ultimate diet solution into God, when they have not done it themselves already. There are no solutions, only experiences and different ways, and you have to find out what is the right way for you, and understanding that this may change again in the future when your body has different needs. Also know that more than 50% of your daily energy is used by digestion, assimilation, and elimination. Is life all about food, or is food to give you the energy to adventure life? Within the universal mind are much more adventures available that you are familiar with. But to get access to this information, you must break with and through your conditionings. Learn to observe yourself in all aspects related to food, and observe especially what certain foods do to you, because as long as you let food rule your life, you cannot observe and possibly change many destructive patterns and the negative passions. To plan a short fast on just juicing or water may help to cut some old blueprints and giving you more clarity. Do some research on fasting, the times and the ways how to do it. Look at the life of some great souls in the past who all knew about fasting. There are endless ways to fast, and fasting means to lay off your usual ways of eating. Last but not least, do not forget to meditate, which is the real food for your soul. Quote, meditation, food for the soul, Sri Chinmoy. End of quote. Dealing with staying fit. In regards to fitness, know that fitness in general is the activating of muscles and body systems, but most important is to wake yourself up from the dream world called creation and getting in touch with your real self, which is like a sleeping or unused muscle. When exercising, you cannot sit still, for the aim is to move the muscles and body systems, but you can still the mind and be with your soul through inner prayer and meditation while exercising. Your spiritual fitness activity is silent prayer and meditation, which are the hardest form of fitness because your body needs to become completely still, and your body and your mind needs to become still through these methods. These activities will keep the soul active in your life. Be careful of worshipping your body for its beauty, but operate through it with the highest virtues. Quote, beauty unaccompanied by virtue is a flower without perfume. French proverb. End of quote. Dealing with your life partner. In regards to your relationship, connect with the higher virtues: acceptance, humbleness, forgiveness, gentleness, moderation, and selflessness. And be careful to crown yourself or your partner, because you fall down into worshipping false gods and idols. Life in the world is just a stage where actors come and go, and what you need to do is to learn to play your roles well, like good actors do. Quote, the chemist who cannot extract from his heart's elements compassion, respect, longing, patience, regret, surprise, and forgiveness, and compound them into one, can create that atom which is called love. Kahlil Gibran. Dealing with your children. In regards to parenting, show your children how to live with the highest virtues, but also explain them about your shortcomings and the shortcomings of human beings. Show them how to observe the story and their own story of life as a human, but to remind them who they really are, souls, spiritual beings, children of the Creator. Reveal the real story of life about the soul, how it left his home, how the mind put a spell upon it, and how you all get lost in pursuing things of this world, and how to find your way back home again. Many children's stories have hidden stories within themselves, and they are great reminders in order not to forget, not to further get lost in the worldly adventure, and how to get away from being under the spell of the endless, momentary treasure hunt. Assist them in their life, but keep reminding them of their true essence, which hopefully one day in the future they will go and search for. It is the best treasure for them to discover, which you can give them. To let them see this world for what it is, a story, a movie, and a dream. The world is a stage, with many actors that come and go. By learning to play the best of one's ability, some harmony will be the outcome, but most of all, by not identifying with the mind, the body, and the world, one will escape a lot of suffering, of which there is already enough. Quote, "To become a spectator of one's own life is to escape the suffering of life." Oscar Wilde. End of quote. Dealing with preserving the planet. In regards to taking care of the planet Earth, be careful of crowning yourself or others for all the great things you have done in this world, because most of it we were part of the destruction of the planet. There is very little you can be proud of. Quote, "The only thing we have to fear on the planet is man." Carl Gustav Jung. End of quote. Learn to live with the highest virtues and reconnect with your true essence and your Creator, and start living life with a different consciousness and being an observer instead of being a consumer, destroyer, or even savior. Dealing with the teenage years. In regards to the teenage years, be careful breaking away from your parents, which in most cases you worship when you were young, and then falling into another way of worshipping other idols. You need to learn to accept first yourself. You might battle with the following. You might feel lost. You don't want to hold the hand of your parents anymore. You might feel lonely. You feel you don't belong here. You might feel abandoned. You feel nobody likes and loves you. You possibly feel disconnected. You are floating in between worlds. You don't want to accept how things are. You either don't care or you want to change the world. Find the connection to your spiritual self, but watch out not to become a fanatic. You need to learn things about this world and skills to later make your own living, and you need to build a strong foundation for your real self, the soul. In the meantime, learn as much as possible from those around you who have gone the road. There is always something to learn wherever you are. Quote, "The world can doubtless never be well known by theory. Practice is absolutely necessary. But surely it is of great use to a young man before he sets out for that country full of mazes, windings, and turnings, to have at least a general map of it, made by some experienced traveler." Lord Chesterfield. End of quote. Dealing with getting older. In regards to dealing with getting older, you hopefully realize that the older you become, the more evidence you have that this world is an illusion, in which you cannot hold on to anything. The older you become, the more you hopefully long to go back to your real home and reconnect with the soul within, through silent prayer and meditation, catching the sound current. Quote, You want knowledge? Knowledge lays within you. Sound current is knowledge. The more you study it, the higher you rise and the wiser you become. Maharaj Sawan Singh. End of quote. The older you become, you hopefully also become wiser how to view and communicate with a higher perspective, and realizing that all visitors are struggling souls, either to survive and wanting things of this mortal world, or struggling to become whole again. Hopefully, you have become a global and universal father or mother, and are there for any of the children of the world when in need. Enjoying the years while getting older and slowly detaching yourself from the things of the world and getting attached to something that goes with you forever. Quote, while you are alive, conquer death, and you shall have no regrets in the end. Sri Guru Granth Sahib. End of quote. Dealing with stress. In regards to dealing with stress, know that stress is about friction. And friction is only possible in the world of mind and matter, where things constantly change and shift, a world in which everything comes and goes, and where everybody and everything has an allotted lifespan. Stress is the world of the mind in which there is no moment of permanent peace. Everything is about stress. Even while sleeping, the body is working. It is the stress your muscles feel while walking and working, the stress of digesting food, and the stress of thinking and worrying about certain things. Most stress is a natural part of life, but the unnatural stresses you add by going too fast and trying to do too much are just too much. All the things man has invented used to accomplish things in his fashion are mostly detrimental to the health of nature and man himself. There are endless ways to reduce stress, but meditation and silent prayer are the real tools to minimize all stresses. Quote, coolness and absence of heat and haste indicate fine qualities. Ralph Waldo Emerson. End of quote. Dealing with weight. In regards to dealing with weight, do not crown trainers, counselors, weight programs, and products labeled for losing weight. For giving them the power, they will just, like your weight, having the power over you. Weight is connected to you trying to hold on to and control things, emotions, dreams, and people, which are binding and attaching you to this body, mind, and world. When you judge anything, you are automatically connecting and attaching yourselves, and then it is for you to carry those judgments which weigh you down. The antidote is to see yourself as a transparent being of light, a soul on a momentary adventure, in a world where we came without anything and will go without anything. Go enough fast to see how much you are attached to tastes and the things of this world, and learn to surrender. Be nothing and want nothing. Do your best in making the best choices to become as healthy and vital as possible, without any expectation, otherwise you are holding on to something else again. Simplicity is most likely the trick, and not wanting more and more by feeling unfulfilled. Reconnect with your soul as much as possible. Quote, we struggle with the complexities and avoid the simplicities. Norman Vincent Peale. End of quote. Dealing with disease. In regards to dealing with disease, know that when you are confronted with disease, to be careful to not worship the disease by letting your thought only dwell on it. Realize that by doing this, you are giving the disease more and more power, and that you are actually worshiping it. It is the same by giving power to healthcare practitioners, methods, and medication. They are all a means to an end. Healing takes place when it is meant to be, and for that reason do not worship healthcare practitioners, methods, and products. Signs, symptoms, and diseases are like opportunities to assist you in the book of your life. Treasures revealing a magical roadmap to harmonious living. A journey to discover an ancient universal language. Wake-up calls from the depths of your soul. Cries from the level of your cells. Gateways to conscious living. Elements of a re-education program. Gifts to help you evolve from being victims to being heroes. Opportunities to look at life from a different perspective, and when gone through with understanding, a help for others maybe having to deal with something similar. Quote, "The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law." Galatians 5:22. Dealing with emotions. In regards to dealing with emotions, know that in the realm of spirit, emotions do not exist. All emotions exist in the realm of the universal mind and are individual experiences, without a connection, not associated to anything yet. So accept them in this way and experience them, but be careful to connect them, for without realizing it, you make gods and devils out of them, which you in a sense worship. Everything is a treasure, a gift, but you create a madhouse with them. Quote, "If the only prayer you say in your whole life was, 'Thank you,' that would suffice." Meister Eckhart. Dealing with business. In regards to dealing with your professional life, know that most of you have unfortunately the impression that life is only about our profession, business, money, power, and possessions. Making money is essential when you do not live in nature, but it is to make money to provide just shelter, food, and clothing. In most cases, you all try to make more money than essential needs and pay a big price as your health, family, and spirituality suffers. Quote, "Wealth itself is not a bad idea, provided it is directed towards public good. So is power. However, the danger lies in its misuse." Ananda. Business buildings have grown taller than the churches and the mosques, indicating where our priorities lay. Mankind tries to have everything at the cost of nature and its own well-being. Do you not understand that you are doing bad business and are on this destructive path on which you all need all the help possible to turn things around? You tend to forget that the business you may own is not yours, but of this world. You crown yourself as the boss and misuse power, and employees crown their boss by liking him or not and falling for power. You came without and will depart without. So why not see yourself just as the manager and treasurer? The owner is the creator, who looks at all our actions. So let's see how you are going to run your business, treating each other, and what you offer the client. Quote, "What good is a social class and status? Truthfulness is measured within. Pride in one's status is like poison. Holding it in your hand and eating it, you shall die." Sri Guru Granth Sahib. End of quote. Dealing with destructive habits. In regards to dealing with destructive habits and addictions, know that it takes great willpower to stop them running your life. That willpower is not to come from your ego, but your real self who is hidden under the endless realities within the mind. It is more about respect for the soul within you that you are getting the power to change things around. As long as you are in the grip of the mind run by the sense organs, realize that you are all as strong as your weakest point, whatever that may be. So no need to crown yourself, just do it for the soul. Quote, I cannot always control what goes on outside, but I can always control what goes on inside. Wayne Dyer. End of quote. Dealing with studying. In regards to studying and attaining information, the biggest danger lays in you thinking that you know and that you have the answers. Connect with the higher virtues: acceptance, humbleness, forgiveness, gentleness, moderation, and selflessness. And do not crown yourself or others for their knowledge, their degrees or positions. Listen and observe more, and do not get involved in intellectual debates within your own mind or with others. Be more in silence. Study yourself, study the mind, and study about things that outlast your mortal existence. Be aware that the first studies in life are about life itself, about who and what you are, about the mind, how it can be a friend and enemy, and how the invisible forces of universe and nature work. It is studying about how to nurture the body and how to keep it healthy, vital, and fit. It is about your universal and spiritual inheritance, how to stay connected to your real self, the soul, and the Creator, and looking at life with different eyes. Quote, all you can learn is what your own inward life is, and try to stay loyal to that. Joseph Campbell. End of quote. Studying is not about something new, because all worldly knowledge is inside the universal mind, and all spiritual knowledge is also within you, because your soul knows all. Quote, all light, all intelligence, harmony, rhythm, beauty, wisdom, life, morality, and power come from the soul. They are all derived from the spirit and are all imparted to the mind by the spirit, just as an electric current gives power to the bulb to make it incandescent. Path of the Masters, Julian Johnson. End of quote. Finally, it is about learning a profession to just provide money to pay for shelter, food, and clothes. And watching out not to lose yourself, family, your universal and spiritual inheritance in pursuing too much. It is about becoming a wise, gentle, flexible, loving, caring, vital person, living with the highest virtues and being an example to others. Quote, live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Mahatma Gandhi. End of quote. Dealing with friendships. In regards to friendships, know to live with the highest virtues, and you need friends who shine them. For the company you keep has a great influence on you, how you want to live your life. The danger, however, lays in you thinking that you have conquered all negative tendencies, but you could fall any moment. That is the same when you idolize others, who can also fall any minute, as they too are part of the world of opposites. Quote, never idolize others. They will never live up to your expectations. Leo S. Bugutskalia. End of quote. Summary. Sferon. Sferon, the guiding force of higher virtues and visions. Most of you are unfamiliar with the universal mind, which holds all information and experiences possible in creation. The past, the moment, and future, and as well it's a source of information to live in harmony with creation. It goes beyond your conditioned and limited mind, and is also called the higher mind. It is that part which the great philosophers, inventors, and artists were able to tap into. The higher mind holds also the information of how to live life with the highest virtues. At this place of consciousness, we also have the capacity to communicate with our true self and the Creator. I am Sferon, representing the energy of the universal mind and the ability to non-verbally communicate with yourself, others, the world, and the Creator. I will keep you alert of what you ask for, guide you in accepting life as it is, doing your best and leaving all in the hands of the Creator in order not to miscommunicate with Him or even judge Him. I warn you not to crown and worship yourself or others with the capacity of reason, intellect, and worldly knowledge. I guide you in becoming the observers of your own life, instead of playing games in the name of freedom, religion, or even the Creator. Hopefully, you learn to be more by yourself, to spend time in silence and to live life with the highest virtues. Summary. Know that within you lay imprints from the level of your soul called higher virtues. Stay aware that you can live life with the highest principles and virtues and can even become a saint-like human being. Realize that when you come from higher virtues, that it still can come from the level of your ego. It is not about crowning yourself or letting others crown you and thinking that you are good people. For as long as you have expectations, you are involved in a selfish game. Know that you are able to live in the world, but not having to become of it. Take time to communicate non-verbally through inner and silent prayer and meditation with your higher self. Make time to sit with the Creator, just the two of you, in a quiet place. Realize, however, that as long as you are in the realm of mind and matter, that you can fall down into the negative passions, for the positive and negative are still part of the creation. Realize that when you do not accept life as it is, that you are judging, which doesn't mean that you cannot have compassion and should help when and whenever you can. Realize that you can judge the Creator when things are not going the way you think they should be and go. Stay connected to the higher virtues without getting your ego involved. In order to stay aware living with higher virtues, prepare yourself for the day of how you're going to approach life, others, and situations. And at the end of the day, write down your changes, how you handle things differently by having read the information about Sferon. Affirmation. I am aware of my spiritual inheritance, the everlasting power of life, and humbly accept creation as it is. I live each moment in full consciousness, staying awake as an observer and non-verbally communicate with everything and everybody with the highest virtues. Petrus